HUBRIS is a beautiful game on PCVR and PSVR2, so when I learned that HUBRIS was also coming to the Meta Quest 2, the developers then released a trailer of in-game footage, and I've got to say I was massively impressed, and pretty excited to see how such a visually high-end VR game will look and perform on a standalone headset. Considering the Quest is now coming up to over 2 years old and is going to be succeeded by the Meta Quest 3, I was personally very intrigued to see how this could perform. But before we get into the details, if you enjoy this video, please support the channel with likes and shares, and be sure to subscribe for more VR content. So let's get some story quickly out of the way, just in case you've never seen this game before. You are a new recruit of the OOO, aka the Order of Objectivity. Your only colleague is Pilot Lucia, and you are both sent to a planetoid belt to search for the mysterious agent known as Sienna. During the game, your partner accompanies you in the form of a robot controlled remotely from the Crest spaceship, and she will be helping you throughout the campaign. The enemy you'll be fighting are called Urons, and they originated from the planet next to the home planet of the OOO. The planets I'm referring to are the two very cool looking planets that you see in the opening. A long time ago, the purple planet was home to the Urons, and the cyan planet home to the OOO. They've been fighting for over a millennia, trying to prove who is the superior race. Eventually blinded by their hubris, which means pride and self-confidence, they did not see or notice their planets colliding and eventually destroyed both planets, hence the name of the game. Now the Urons want to terraform the planet and you have to stop them, blow stuff up and save Sienna. With the story out of the way, let's go into some gameplay before we go into presentation, because I have quite a lot to say about both. When it comes to the gameplay loop, I'm pleased to say it's good, but it isn't amazing. The loop being shooting and collecting stuff that you'll need to recycle to upgrade your weapon, and then you start again. You only have one gun, but it transforms into 3 different weapons: a pistol, an auto rifle and a shotgun. The shotgun has an alternative firing mode where you can hold the trigger and steer an explosive shot, but in combat there isn't much point using anything but the pistol. Basically it's very OP, and each time you upgrade it, the ammo count increases along with the damage, making it very easy to ignore any other weapons for any other reason. The only time I wanted to switch weapons was to watch the gun transform, which I thought looked really cool. I'm pleased to say, as with the PSVR2 version, the reload system has been updated. Previously you had to wait for a cooldown, but now you have to push the mag back in, which is much more enjoyable, but also leads to another frustration of not being able to eject the mag. You have to run the mag out every single time to reload, which simply means shooting at nothing so you have a full mag for the next fight. The game can be played comfortably standing or seated, and there are all regular comfort options you would expect. There's around 5 enemy types ranging from grunts to armed grunts and flying drones, but in the 3.5 hours it took me to complete the game, I think the combat is just about passable. The AI has some good moments and they can get the better of you, but it's very rare and they are easily outsmarted. They'll spawn looking the wrong way, and in the Quest version they are definitely more of something just to slow you down. And in regards to the Quest version again, we have some new glitches. We have guards that simply can't be killed. Pretty sure some of them actually can walk through walls and doors, and I even had a flying squid in one of the sections of the game, which was quite funny. In all other aspects though, I would say this is a carbon copy of the PC and PSVR2 version, aside from the graphics. There's quite a lot of climbing in the game, which is mostly good, and again doesn't seem as glitchy as the PC. The vault mechanic makes it easy for you to grab ledges with one hand, and in complicated areas your hands sometimes still will not know where to go next. These areas are highlighted in blue, but I believe you can disable this in the options. So for example, you'll be holding onto a ledge with your left hand and you want to cross over with your right hand, and it simply won't allow it, and I don't even know why it won't allow it, so then you have to grab your right to move your left over, and it's not all the time, but it does tend to make climbing a little bit cumbersome. Again, much like every other platform, I think the swimming is very cool here, and on Quest the underwater sections do look really good. The voice acting is good as well, but the characters can feel a bit lifeless, again like every other platform, and unengaging because they talk to the sphere and almost completely ignore you, meaning you have to stand in the way of the conversation to feel like you're involved. Now on Quest I would say this game runs at around 72 Hz, and on the Pro it seems to run smoother. Whether there's any truth in that I don't know, but that's just how I found it. On Quest Pro this game definitely feels a lot better and a lot smoother. And to be honest, this has made the review very hard for me, because in one hand I'm impressed that you can play HUBRIS at all on a Quest 2. And I'm someone who enjoys retro games and playing my Game Boy, and I understand that the Quest is not a PS5 and it's not a full-blown PC, but it's also very obviously stripped back. Shadows, reflections and resolution and frame rate seems to be affected by being on the Quest. Now this shouldn't impact the gameplay, because after all gameplay is the most important factor, but HUBRIS isn't an amazing game. It's pretty average actually in terms of gameplay, and I'm not saying it isn't fun, it is, but it's got 4 to 5 hours of gameplay for newcomers, but I still don't think it does anything new. So the presentation was always the thing that tipped the needle towards it being something special, or at least interesting in VR. And without the graphics to carry it, all you're left with is a pretty average game. But the graphics aren't the worst bit. The measures put in place to keep performance high made me feel quite uncomfortable, and it only really happens in fast motion and on Quest 2. Your arms and hands are constantly surrounded by an almost clear wavy mesh effect, and it distorts anything you put your arms in front of. Now you can push through this, but there's also something happening on the far edges of your visuals on Quest. It's almost like a very tiny but extreme foveated rendering effect, and in combination with the two combined, I found the game pretty uncomfortable to play. Now I never feel nauseous in VR, but I definitely needed a break playing it. And then when I tested the game on Quest Pro, I definitely found it far more comfortable when some of these issues didn't exist. But then it leads me to the question of how many of you own a Quest Pro for gaming? So to summarise, I still think HUBRIS has something to offer people who haven't already experienced it, but again, I do think it's quite an uncomfortable game to play on Quest, and without the graphics to make it a wow factor, all you're left with is a pretty average game. Now the score I gave it on PSVR2 was 6.8, and with the graphics missing, I still think the game is okay, so I'm going to stick with a 6 out of 10 currently for HUBRIS on Quest 2. If you do own a Quest Pro, just check it out on Quest Pro. I think the game looks and plays a lot better on that system, which gives me hopes that when the Quest 3 comes out, they can update this game to make it run even better. Thank you ever so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this review, let me know down in the comments. If you've got anything to say about it, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you all for the next one.